Good afternoon, Reverend Kosho Niwano. Good afternoon, my dear friend, His Excellency Faisal Muammar, Secretary General of KAICID. Good afternoon, dear members of Risho Kosei-kai, other religious believers in Religions for Peace Japan, eminent political leaders, men and women, brothers and sisters, all of you. What a pleasure to be with you in this way by a short film. Today we are reflecting on dialogue, and I'm happy to share that from its very beginning, Religions for Peace was based on the conviction that every single religion has a positive vision of peace, and every single religion understands threats to peace. And so from its beginning, Religions for Peace was committed to common action for peace. But dialogue would always be a kind of inner activity leading us all to common action. Why? Religion calls us to care, and care calls us to action. So shared cares we have together, call us to act together. And this is, in my humble view, perhaps the highest form of dialogue, because it's the dialogue of action where we put into action our deep religious care. At that time, way back in 1970, the world was threatened by nuclear annihilation. This was unacceptable. It was unacceptable for Buddhists, for Shintoists, for Muslims, for Christians, for Jews, for Hinduists, for all of the great religions. And so we put that problem at the center of the table, and we committed ourselves to action. Together we went to Moscow. Some were from the communist bloc, others were from the so-called Western bloc, others were non-aligned. But we went arm in arm together, convinced in our differences, religious differences, that we had to work together, we had to stand together. So this has been our way in Religions for Peace, and it continues today. There are so many examples. I have just now come back from Bosnia-Herzegovina, that beautiful country with its beautiful people, torn by an agonizing civil war. So naturally, consistent with our earliest history, we reached to all of the four religious communities, the Muslims, the Catholics, the Serbian Orthodox, and the Jewish communities, to unite and to build an action-oriented interreligious council. And how well they worked. They stood before their injured and wounded populations, and they called them together to build a unified and healed country. They went on the radio together. They went on the television together. They worked together to transform the law so that religious freedom and respect for diverse communities could be part of the national law. And we learned with our Bosnian friends. We applied the lessons all across wars in Africa. We applied and learned new lessons as we went, so that in Sri Lanka today, or in South Thailand, or in Myanmar, the great learnings of the Religions for Peace family are building one upon the other and being shared all across Religions for Peace in 90 countries around the world. This fall, September, 180 heads of state will come to the United Nations. It's just 100 meters beyond my window. And the world's political leaders will commit to what is called sustainable development. But do you know that there are 1 out of 7 human beings, every seventh human being, earns less than 120 yen every single day. They're in a poverty trap. They can't do anything to get out of that poverty trap. And in those same countries, our religious communities are a beautiful network that moves from the capital to the mid-sized cities, to the districts, down to the smallest villages. So Religions for Peace is committed to working in collaboration with governments and every other actor to put these beautiful people, families, mothers, fathers, children, put them at the center of our dialogue and ask ourselves what resources we have as religious communities to unite with them and to lift them into shared well-being with us. Going forward, we've been in existence now for more than 45 years. We've learned so many lessons in country after country. First of all, we in Religions for Peace are polishing the lessons in each country and learning how to share them so that the lessons learned in Sierra Leone can be helpful for the lessons learned in another country, and vice versa. We're sharing these lessons. And secondly, we have a magnificent opportunity. We've already used it, but we're learning how to use it even better. Where are the religious communities? They exist locally in the villages and towns. They're organized nationally. They're organized regionally, like the Asian Conference of Religions for Peace, and they're organized globally. Today, the big problems, the really tough problems, the environment, and combating violent extremism, need complementary action on all four levels at the same time. To tackle violent religious extremism, we have to work globally, we have to work regionally, we have to work at a given national level, and then we have to work locally. In Religions for Peace, we're doing our program planning so that we can work on all four levels at the same time with cooperation across the Religions for Peace family. Let me conclude with some very heartfelt reflections on Kaisid. First of all, the esteemed Secretary General, I'm privileged to know as a personal friend, one I had the joy of knowing and collaborating with long before Kaisid came into reality. Religions for Peace began 45 years ago. At that time, there were many who couldn't understand the beauty and the vision of the Religions for Peace mission. Happily, 3 years ago, under enormously creative leadership from His Excellency, or His Majesty rather, King Abdullah, Kaisid came into being. And this was the genius of an Arabic state, an Arabic leader. Many of us regarded him as a world leader, and a fervent and committed Muslim. Taking Arabic culture and Islamic faith and putting them at the service of our global family. Joining arm in arm with Religions for Peace and many other good actors, and adding the great genius of leadership that is coming from this part of the world. In one of its very first creative programs, it reached its arms over to Religions for Peace, joined with us literally arm in arm, and helped to host and co-participate in our last World Assembly. That assembly was immeasurably better because of the wonderful fraternal partnership with Kaisid. Dear Eminence, Excellency, Dr. Faisal Muammar, and your wonderful colleagues in KAISID, Religions for Peace celebrates your birth 3 years ago and the wonderful action that you've been able to take over the last 3 years. As we go forward with the great work of serving collaboration across our religious communities, collaboration for the common good, collaboration for our shared security, where your well-being is linked to my happiness and my well-being is linked to your happiness. As we go forward, we are so delighted to think that we have in KAISID a true partner. So thank you very, very much to all here. I give you greetings from all across the world to your colleagues in Religions for Peace, and I wish you marvelous success in this very, very important gathering. Thank you so very, very much.